over, but I still have questions. It's over, but I still have questions. Ex appeal is so real. 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 Hi. Welcome back to the Ex Appeal podcast. You're very cute. This is a surprising one. I dated Yaakov when we were 19. He was and is an Orthodox Jew, and he's now the head of a religious school. Looking back on dating him makes me think about the connection between acting and dating. I feel like sometimes when I date, I take on parts of myself that I may not have before and learn a lot about different worlds. Not saying that it's fake, but it's just a way to try out a different part of yourself. And yeah, I think especially in this case, I was finding out about what it is to be religious in that whole world. That is not to say that that is why I dated Yaakov, but I definitely tried on a different part of myself. My friend Tony made fun of me once because we were at a restaurant and I was talking to the sommelier and I was attracted to him. And I guess I took on a totally different tone. Like her and I are very silly together. And with him, I became very serious and just spoke in this like totally different voice. So yeah, I think I can do some matchy stuff. And that can be fun. So I did try being religious for a summer and learning what it is like to be a religious person. And I had a lot of fun with Yaakov. And as he and I talk about, he wasn't totally sure about doing the podcast when I asked him. So I was very impressed that he both did it and that he spoke so openly on it. And he's really funny about the religious question, like in this little moment here.
I have to choose between God and Miriam.
OMG. Okay, so yeah, have fun with this one. You like drugs, you like God. You like drugs, you like God. You like drugs and you like God. Oh my God, I'm so happy to see you.
You too. I'm sorry it's taken so long.
I understand. It's life. And you fasted today.
Yeah, fasting sucks.
Do you feel clear though?
Yeah, well, I finally got a chance to eat, so now I feel much better.
But I mean, some people fast, like in a hipster way.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, like just from I'm too busy and being an idiot, I usually don't really eat anything until about 12:30. That's like
so you intermittent fast without
by accident.
That's really funny.
I irresponsibly intermittently fast. But I do a lot of tea for caffeine purposes. So that's my go-to, but food-wise, not so much. But today is like from, 3:30 in the morning till 9 p.m.
Yeah, why was it so late?
Because it's one of the latest, like it's one of the longest days of the year.
And you have to make sure that you get it.
From like dawn till sundown, not until nightfall. So it was like literally like 3:30 till 9:02 today. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not fun.
Which one is today?
Today is Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, the 17th day of the month of Tammuz. It's the one that commemorates a bunch of bad things, but Moses breaking the tablets and the beginning of the siege of Jerusalem that leads to 3 weeks later, the destruction of the temple. So a lot of bad stuff, but nowadays we have to deal with it by not eating or drinking, which is not fun.
Shall we?
We shall. You look great.
Okay, good. Thank you. I feel great.
Good.
Yeah.
Is this the apartment that is going to be sublet soon?
Yes, 100%. We can advertise it, although this won't be out in time. But I'm sure I'll be subletting again. So somebody please sublet my place so I can go on a nice vacation.
I can verify right now that she is not lying, at least in this shot. It looks lovely and lots of natural sunlight.
I know. It's 7:00 and there's light.
Not bad.
It's
not bad.
It's perfect. Okay. Lots to ask.
Lots to ask about. Go for it.
Okay. Do you remember how we met?
Like a specific moment or in general?
I mean, I know that we met at camp. Did we meet because I was a CIT at Kahila?
Were you a CIT at Kahila?
I was the second month.
Wow. I don't remember
It was
that.
It was very actress of me. I was like, well, what's this all about?
That's fantastic. You were slumming it with us. I remember meeting you not as a CIT. It was definitely a camp. Shout out to Camp Grossman in JCC camp in Boston. I remember meeting you when we were counselors, and you were working for, I don't know if there was a name for the differently abled stuff and the
special needs folks.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So did we meet the summer we dated?
Might have been.
Okay.
It might have been.
I remember us being 19.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay. So then that's when we met. I didn't know whether we had met earlier because I knew I'd had a run-in with the religious people.
Mm. I want to know who you dated that summer.
Oh, yeah. At the age of 15 as a CIT.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly right.
Okay. And do you remember how we met?
My recollection is that we, the crazy long road walkway from where most of the bunkhouses were all the way down to the waterfront.
Yes.
Somewhere near the office area, I think you were counseling with some of your special needs campers. And I remember noticing you and being enamored, and watching you kind of do your thing as a counselor was also pretty cool. And I think my guess is that I said something funny and or clever. And then we started talking.
It's funny that we met right in the walkway. I remember talking a lot around the buses.
Yes. Good call.
So I didn't know if that's where we met, but I think that's where flirting happened daily. So it was I knew for a fact that I was going to flirt with you at the end of the day. For sure.
Nice. Excellent.
Yes.
So many good memories of that. That is definitely one of the positive bus memories. The other one was unrelated to Miriam and Yaakov, was little Yaakov as a camper at the same bus area, and getting on the bus and getting help memorizing the lyrics to "We Didn't Start the Fire" by my bus counselor, BJ Novak. At the time it was just Ben.
What?
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
He was a counselor at Grossman?
He was not just a counselor. He was a responsible counselor. They gave him bus detail.
Sometimes that's just because you live at the end of the line. I was also
exactly
a bus counselor.
what it was. I can tell you exactly where he lives, and that's exactly why.
In Newton. Wait, we can't, but he's not that much older than us, is he? I guess he must be.
He's 3 or 4 years older than us or whatever it is, and that makes you a counselor when I'm a kid.
Are you guys still best friends?
Oh, the best. The best.
Good. Wow, that is a good detail.
That's a pretty good one.
No
not as good as flirting with Miriam at the end of the day.
Yes, good. I'm glad I'm better than
way
the
up
office.
There. Way up there than Ben Novak. But yeah, it was fun. It was a great summer.
Yes.
The summer between, I spent 2 gap years in Israel after finishing high school, and it was the summer between those 2 gap years.
Okay, so I do remember that you were going to Israel, but I didn't realize that you had been in Israel the year before.
Yeah, that's my recollection. Was it we were 19 or we were 18? Because if we were 18, I had just finished high school, and so had you. And if we were 19, then I think I had just gotten back from 1 year, and I'm pretty sure that's right. And I was on my way to my second.
I think I was going into my sophomore year of college, because I think I remember going back to New York, not moving to, yes, I think that's correct. I feel like I remember being 19. And then do you remember anything about us engaging, before we I don't know, went on some kind of a date, which we can try to map out. But do you remember anything about us engaging before that? I do remember you were very funny. And I think making jokes was a big part of how we engaged.
Excellent. That sounds accurate. I remember that summer was, so as a counselor in Grossman, I worked in Kehila, the now non-existent, recently relatively non-existent Orthodox unit at Camp Grossman. Yeah, it's crazy. I think it was only about 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's pre-COVID, but a few years ago, they put the kibosh on the unit. Wow. The camp is still thriving. My recollection is that because they gave a lot of autonomy, I don't know why, to the counselors to make their own schedules. There was a lot of me scheduling myself so that I had a lot of free time with which to hang out with you. And also hang out at the waterfront.
You just did whatever you wanted?
Yeah,
maybe that was a Kahila thing.
I remember scheduling deliberately instructional swim, free swim, next to fishing or boating, so that I could spend a consecutive 2.5 hours at the waterfront. Cool. It was solid. It was pretty solid.
And do you remember any specific, this is many, many years ago. We're 22 now. But do you remember any, I kind of don't from being at camp, except for the vagueness of fun and flirting and funny. But is there a specific interaction that you remember?
I remember that we were like very flirty, explicitly flirty / hanging out a lot. There was like a staff dance party. Do you remember that?
Oh,
there was like
really.
A staff get together, like dance party. I don't remember where. Maybe it was on campus, like in camp, and maybe it was somewhere else.
No,
like
because we would have like staff meetings. So
yeah, no.
Yeah, maybe it was at the JCC. Yeah.
I think it was at the JCC, and it was like either like in the middle of the summer. Yeah, it was in the middle of the summer, and it was like a get together, and I was your incredibly, very, very confident in my wallflower status. And that was the first time I remember you teaching me that term. I didn't know that term.
Wallflower?
Yeah.
But I don't think of you as a wallflower.
I'm not. I'm not exactly your quiet type, but the idea, especially as a 19-year-old kid, also a little bit conflicted in the sense that like I had just come back from a year studying in seminary in Israel. I was going back for a second year, which is, I would say, for the community and the school I came from, going for a gap year to study in yeshiva in a seminary in Israel, that's pretty normal. Going back a second year says a little bit like, oh, you're uber committed kind of a thing. So there was a certain level of conflict and a certain level of, I don't go to a lot of dance parties, so therefore this is new territory, uncomfortable. And when are they going to turn on the electric slide so that I can feel confident in knowing the dance moves kind of a thing?
But was it about dancing, or was it about like religiousness and not being sure it was appropriate to be there?
Probably a combination of both. I would say that at that stage of life, probably the most honest answer is that it was more about the fear of looking like an idiot, and definitely some conscious and subconscious, is this religiously, right, quote unquote. But that is going to be I think a lot more of the Monday night quarterbacking reason, but a lot of it came down to, if I felt more confident and comfortable, then maybe I wouldn't have had as many questions about, is this feeling, not in a good way, not in a bad way. Just, I don't know that I would have felt as religiously conflicted if I felt more confident. And because I felt less confident, it was easier to feel like, oh, I don't know if I should be doing this. And that's the real reason I don't want to.
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I also think that had you not grown up religious, then you would have been more used to those kind of events. So you would have had that confidence. So it's definitely intertwined at every level.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you on that one.
Yes. And do you remember, so you remember hanging out at that dance, and do you remember dancing together?
Maybe a little bit. It's like a vague memory at that point. So it's like you said, we're already 22. So it's been a little while.
And did we talk at it a lot?
Yeah, I remember hanging out with you quite a bit.
Did you feel conflicted about flirting in public with me?
No, not at all. No, it was more just, it was about like being at a dance party, which was, when I was in 7th and 8th grade, it was like, oh, okay, this is what we do in Sharon on a Saturday night. But then once it was like, I'm post gap year in Israel, it was like, oh,
you're an adult.
This is not done.
That's what you're even saying. Yeah. But also there's a different level. Like in 7th grade, you're meant to be awkward. And somehow at some point you're supposed to be
never awkward in 7th grade. I was amazing in 7th grade.
I don't know. Maybe that's true.
No, it's not true.
Some people were like peaked in middle school,
Yes, I feel bad for those people. I did not have like the horrendously, I hate middle school in my life. Like I actually enjoyed middle school.
Yeah.
But so I know I was awkward now, but in middle school I didn't feel awkward. Did you?
I didn't think of you as awkward. I always was really sort of center of attention-y.
Yeah, same.
And I was a little bit more unusual. So it was less awkward because I sort of just forged my own path. I was like, this is my deal. I'm not trying to be like everyone. But of course I had awkward. I mean, I didn't look good in my bat mitzvah pictures. I'll tell you that much.
Nice.
Just not cute. Like just not the time to capture me over and over and over again.
My favorite was going to these b'nai mitzvah celebrations, and I did not get my growth spurt at 13. So like the girls that I'd be dancing with would literally have to take their heels off because I was like 5'3", maybe. And so like he was cute, but also like not exactly a confidence boost of like, can you please take your shoes off so that I look like I'm 5? Good time.
Do you remember how we got from hanging out at that dance to hanging out outside of camp?
That's a really good question. I don't know that I do. Do you?
Well, I actually only really remember 2 times hanging out with you outside of camp. I remember studying the Torah with you / your brother. Like I went to some synagogue on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And
you came to my house on Shabbat.
Yeah. Yes.
Which was new territory for me. That was like super cool. And then we went on a date in like Boston, like downtown.
But that was the night before we both went back to. Those are the only 2 times I remember hanging out. And yet I do consider us to have been romantic. Like I thought of me as dating you.
Right.
But that's interesting that it was truly 2 hangs, one of which was studying the Torah, which can't exactly count. Like I could have just been your buddy. So somehow
I think that they both definitely count. Like I remember very fondly. It's interesting. Like I remember, I didn't realize that you had come to shul also. Like you came to synagogue earlier than that. I remember you came to the house for Shabbat lunch, and
I had lunch with your family.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Which was a whole, like, for me, it was a combination of a lot of things. Like, remember I said before, like, I was conflicted about the do I, don't I at the dance party. So for me, at home, there was a lot of kind of those diametrically opposed feelings and thoughts and emotions, not about religion, but about I grew up, like, constantly always, I guess on some level, embarrassed of my house. It was, always pretty small compared to the wealthy upper middle class families that were in my classes in grade school. And also my mother was a decent level pack rat, not to the point of like she wouldn't have made an episode of Hoarders, but it wasn't exactly a clean house. And I would remember always being worried and nervous. And now as like a adult, as you said, as a 19-year-old, all of a sudden having like a girl come over to the house was the first time that that had happened, as opposed to like one of my classmates or like my high school girlfriend who lived around the corner from me.
Yes. So she always knew. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I did remember that you had, and I actually think I even remember her name, and we don't need to say it, but I remember that you had a serious girlfriend who I ended up doing volunteer work with at some point, or I don't know, I had met her. Yes. That's why I think I maybe met you before we were 19. We both worked the same soup kitchen in Boston.
That segment of the story, we have to unpack that one.
Yes. No, I mean, I like to keep it to us so that no one else feels revealed.
No problem.
But I was aware of the fact that you had dated somebody seriously. But yes, so that makes sense. It's somebody who had sort of known you for many years came over.
Exactly. And then you came to the house. And the only other thing I would add to it is, I think about that day every once in a while, like legitimately, because, I know that we've said we're 22, but when I was 22, in non-dog years, that was when mom passed away. So you got to like hang out with my family and meet my mom, and she loved you. And like, my wife had never met my mom. So it's like one of those kind of like, like it was, I remember that my mom would like, she made mention of you multiple times, like years later kind of a thing. That she really enjoyed getting to meet you. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really beautiful. Wow.
What were you going to say? What do you remember from coming to my house?
Well, just simply that I grew up in a really small apartment. So to me, it was like, wow, a house in Newton, or, so to me, I don't remember the pack rat thing. I was a messy kid. I never would have noticed it. So it's funny to have
the tapes that we have in our heads
about
that
these
are like
things.
the stories that we have, going through us, whether they're happening or not.
Yeah.
Remember something disgusting about house pricing in Newton?
About house what? Pricing?
House pricing in Newton.
Oh.
My parents bought that in like 79, and they paid like $75,000 for it.
Yeah.
It was like a 1,300 square foot house. So not not big by anybody's standards as far as a house goes. If you look it up on Zillow now, it's 1.13.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, disgusting, just gross, but whatever. Weird.
What did I want to say about, it's so interesting because you are saying that dance thing, there was no religious issue, and at your house, there was no religious issue. But for me, I think that I interpreted it through that lens a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Meaning you interpreted what was going on as through the lens of, is Yaakov embarrassed of me religiously?
Not embarrassed, but conflicted. Especially because I think the last night we hung out.
Yes.
We held hands.
Yep.
And that was, I believe, the first time we held hands.
Yep, I think so too.
And I mean, because one of the times is in a synagogue, one of the times is at your parents', you know, one of the times is at like a camp function.
Yeah. We live for danger.
And then I tried to kiss you, and you were like, I can't.
Right. I remember that.
And I think part of the I can't was, we're not going to be dating seriously because I'm leaving to go to Israel. But I think I always sort of interpreted it as, you're not as religious as I am. That's why I'm sort of actually surprised to hear you say that your mom really liked me, because I thought that part of the issue was that you didn't feel that I was religious enough for you.
Wow. Okay. I mean, she did ask if you love Jesus. No, I'm kidding. I mean,
Muhammad.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, you know, everyone pick your poison. That wasn't really ever at all a question. For me, I think the idea that you were probably picking up on, rightly so, because you were probably still are and always were a pretty well-attuned kind of trust your gut person. I felt conflicted, but because of my own religiosity, not because of yours.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So there was some. Okay.
Yeah, but meaning like not because Miriam is somehow different from me and therefore this can never be, but because I was 19, going back to Israel, supposed to be this, you know, growing religious persona, and what was expected of me from the tropes of expectation of, you know, going back in Hebrew called Shana Bet, a year number 2 to learn in Israel, was that I'm not still struggling with, you know, in Orthodoxy, there's the expectation that men and women don't touch until they're married. So, you know, I grew up always in a teenagery conflicted way about that within modern Orthodoxy, which lives both in the modern world and Orthodoxy. So that's kind of always like the number one topic that teens want to talk about, is that. So there was always that level of conflict. And then to be 19 and post-Israel and almost going back to Israel, there was that, like, is this what, am I living up to my own sense of ideal and expectation in my own head? So it was about my level of religiosity and feeling like imposter syndrome, probably, and having nothing to do with you. I remember, you know, it's interesting, who I married, who was awesome. And, you know, I think that she and I became friends first, and we didn't start dating for about 5 years of knowing each other. But she was always a very out loud, and, I remember being very intrigued by her personality right away. And it was a similar kind of a sense I got from you when we were 19. It was, you were always adorable and cute, and like, you know, there was an attraction, but it was the personality of, I do my own thing and I am out there and confident, that I was always like very intrigued by. So it was a similar kind of a vibe.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. But I remember the date in Boston, and I remember basically like you took the wheel. Like I think you might have even initiated the date and certainly planned it all out, like where we were going and where we would walk. I think we walked by your high school.
Yes, I think that's where tried to kiss you.
That is why.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. There was like a corner or something like that, like a specific spot near one of the walls, I think. And that's where like that moment of what the hell am I saying no for? And I think the conflict was a piece of that, like, this isn't what Yaakov is supposed to be doing. And also then you were right, the other piece of like, I'm leaving in a week to go back to Israel and Miriam is going on with her life. Like, this just isn't what a nice guy should do.
Oh, yeah.
Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
I actually think I was leaving for New York the next day. I think that was sort of why everything came to a head. And I love that came to a head is us holding hands. But I think that's when it's just so funny because, we were 19. Other people are doing other things.
Yes, they were. I remember you had a conversation with me. Do you remember this one? And then, I want to hear from you first, and then I'll ask you my question about something I remember.
Oh, no, because I don't want you to forget.
I won't forget. Don't worry. Go for it.
I'm not even really sure what I was saying. Yes, I think that it did feel like the last opportunity. So that's why things did come to a head. And yeah, well, I think that you were going off, so that maybe there was something that was like, you would be not a nice guy or something. So there's like the religious piece, but also, Whereas I think for me, it was like, well, let's have this experience.
Right. Let's make sure that we
sort of led up to all summer.
Right. Exactly right. Like, let's make sure that we actually, declare our feelings more than just verbally, because we're about to all turn into pumpkins right now. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. I remember that we had a conversation. This is what I was going to say before. I was walking up the, remember those ridiculous, stupid, twisty, turny paths from the blacktop where they did parking and like busing up to where the units were. And like you trip over 15 roots and things like that. And they never thought to maybe mow or pave. It was like, yes, it's a hike to get to your thing. We were walking up one of those paths and somehow we got into the conversation, about, me being 19 and a virgin.
I was also a virgin.
Right. But I'm saying like I remember you vividly expressing out loud how it was shocking to you that someone with my confidence as a 19-year-old boy and confidence with girls was a virgin.
Interesting.
Maybe that was like a nice pickup line, but that was...
interesting. Well, because I was too.
Because I had never had a conversation like that with somebody who, wasn't from within my day school world where the expectation was that you were a virgin until married. Yeah,
that's funny. And maybe, a little out of line with how I thought we spoke.
It was, I don't think I made that one up in my brain.
I'm sure you did not make that up. I definitely am a very bold person, but I'm surprised that I was surprised because of course you were. You were religious. Yeah, you're religious.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it was more like I felt like, ooh, like it's a badge of honor. She thinks I'm super confident. And maybe it was more like you said it like, of course you are, but then you wouldn't be this level of confidence with girls, kind of a thing. Like those are the two things that are incongruous.
Yes, and I do think it may have just been a way for me to compliment you.
Well, compliment taken. It stuck with me.
And flirt with you.
Yeah, sounds good to me. It was fun.
Do you remember? Did we stay in touch? Did we write letters and stuff?
Yeah, we did for a little bit. And it was emails. And I remember. I remember it was like, email had only come out like 4 years prior or something like that. And the yeshiva I was in,
maybe less. I think I got it only the year before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the yeshiva I was in had like a room, like a computer room, that you would go to like sign on to check your email. And then you could print your emails on those dot matrix printers where like, you have to pull the stupid sides of the paper off. And I remember like printing an email and reading it and then having to go back and write, we didn't write for too long. But yeah, there were a couple of emails back and forth. I
remember you telling me that you found out that you don't need to sleep much. And I was like, whoa, that sounds
serious. I think it was that you were like, oh, you don't actually need to sleep much so that I can study more. And that's like a heavy thing to say.
Yeah. That was probably also me showing off a little bit, my guess is. But yeah, I mean, it's true. I still don't sleep too much.
It seems like it. It seems like you're always.
Yeah. It's not necessarily a healthy thing. It's not something any longer that I think I should be proud of. And I probably need to unwind from that somehow latent feeling of like, no, workaholics unite. But it is true that I think that I realized that I could spend more time doing the learning thing and sleep less was a burgeoning source of pride for me at 19, 20.
Yeah.
And to go back to the religious thing, because that's like always how I've thought of this. Was there some element of that in terms of not thinking of me as a actual potential partner?
I don't think so. I think for me, it was more like the unrealistic potential partner because of timing. Meaning like we were on quite different paths, but also living 6,000 miles apart from each other. So the timing didn't work. And I wasn't, especially at 20, I was not thinking like I'm going to start dating for marriage. Some of my friends were already at that point, but I was not. So for me, it was like, I'm not in that mindset, but at the same time, like I am of a mindset that says if I'm going to be dating somebody, it's, first off, I didn't date, for really all of undergrad for the most part. I flirted a lot. That's how I kind of, got.
You're good at it.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I practiced. But the opportunity, that's how I probably got my fix of female attention, as opposed to, the outlet that is more, typical within America of, dating and or finding those physical flings, which I didn't, as a, 20 to 24-year-old. But then when I finished undergrad after a couple of years of the gap year, that's when I was like, okay, right. As I was getting ready to finish undergrad, I was like, okay, now's when I want to start thinking about, dating. And so at the time when we were, an item for that summer, that magical summer, was like, I wasn't of that mindset and thinking like, this is something.
We were very young. Yeah.
Yeah. We were kids, but at the same time, like it is possible that somewhere in me, there was we're so different of pathways religiously and experience of religious. She might not want what I want, from as a religious lifestyle, that probably if I was, daydreaming about it would come up. But for the most part, I think it was just like, I wasn't thinking about that because it wasn't where my brain was emotionally from a relationship perspective. It was like, I'm just not in relationship mode.
Yeah. Which is so funny because I think in both the dance anecdote and then also that question I just asked you, it's more like a typical situation. It's like you're about to live somewhere far and you are maybe like feeling a little shy, but neither of those things were.
Not at all.
Yes. And I think I had it in my head that like you were uncomfortable like flirting with me in public because like I just had this.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I think I had this idea that like if we were to continue dating, that either you would have become less religious or I would have become more religious. And that is like something that is not, and granted, yes, of course we were quite young and not like at marriage age, but that is something that doesn't exist in most pairings.
Right. Well, the truth is that I think it probably on some level does, meaning whether it's Jewish or Christian, Catholic, like oftentimes people get together and they don't have the exact same familial experience and therefore expectation, even latent expectation of what their adult life will look like vis-a-vis religion. So I do think that like a lot of times there's a navigation that takes place of figuring out where the comfort zone lies for the couple as a new entity, as a new construct, as opposed to the individuals beforehand. Like, for example, my brother, who you met over tater tot.
I loved your brother. Yeah. I feel like I talked to him a lot.
Still?
No.
Oh.
I felt like I talked to him a lot that summer.
Conversation with him afterwards.
I felt like I became buddies with him for sure.
Yeah. He was a cute little buddy kid. He's not that much younger. He's like, 2 years younger than us. But he dated a little bit later in life, not in a crazy late way. He ended up getting married to someone. So he dated somebody who was thinking about converting to Judaism. He dated,
oh wow,
and then he ended up with someone, a wonderful sister-in-law to me, who is grew up going to day school also, but from a very different place of kind of religious expectation of herself and from her family, as well as from like during the dating age. It was a very different expectation that she had of what that would look like than what my brother did. So I think that in a different timing order, that possibly would have come up for us also as a conversation to navigate as a couple of like, what would this look like if this went farther? What are you looking for? What am I looking for? And either deciding that one or the other would work for both of us, finding some middle ground. But if one of us felt like we couldn't compromise enough, that is sometimes what couples go through and is a reason for, this probably isn't going to work out long-term kind of a thing. I do think that had we met at a different stage with some of the same factors, that I would have seriously contemplated it and perhaps made certain sacrifices, but certain compromises that, every twist and turn means that there's a path not taken. So life would have turned out differently. But
does that freak you out a little?
No, not really. Meaning like, I think that there's always the 15 myriad infinite paths not taken.
Of course.
And so therefore it doesn't really freak me out. And also maybe because of my upbringing, meaning I grew up in what I have to imagine that probably most might not understand. Most of your deep listenership might not understand the nuances of what the philosophy of modern orthodoxy is about, but the idea of living in the modern world and wanting to be intimately, deeply involved in all echelons of modern society while still adhering to a very traditional expectation of religious life from an Orthodox perspective, and that there's inherent conflict there, and that you look for beauty in the conflict. You look for, where the gears are grinding, and then realizing that there's real fruitful potential for kind of soul searching that comes through the gears grinding. So knowing that I was never living in a fully black and white environment, I think leaves me more open to the possibility of, it could have turned out that way. It could have turned out this way. It could have turned out that way. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, completely.
Oh, okay.
Oh, completely. And I actually think that's super healthy so that there's like flexibility in your point of view.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether there was some feeling of, because you are devoted to your religion on so many levels, it's your career also.
Right.
Whether there was sort of some kind of a discomfort with the concept that maybe you would have not taken that path.
No.
Cool.
I don't think so. Yeah. I have to choose between God and Miriam. Okay.
Lord.
Yeah.
Okay. That is fully going to be a pull quote for like the sizzle reel.
Exactly right.
So good.
Exactly right. That's what I was going for.
Yes. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't think I really felt that even in like during that summer, nor afterwards, any of that. It's interesting to me, obviously, like I just said the phrase before, my own imposter syndrome and all sorts of variations of it. And especially this year, because I just moved back to Boston. I just moved home. And
to the same town.
To the same town I grew up in.
Yeah.
To the same synagogues I grew up going to that still have the same pulpit rabbis, and to my alma mater. So now I run the school that I went to, which basically means that, they say like, don't piss in your own pool. Like I'm living in the birthplace of every aspect of my imposter syndrome. every day.
Wow.
So talk about a good
and raising children.
Yeah.
Raising many children.
Yeah, just a few. But the notion of feeling that I have certain beliefs about what somebody else is thinking about me, which is like, the inherent building blocks of imposter syndrome. But I had not, selfishly as a 19-year-old thought about what tapes might be playing in your head. We can't even say tapes. What tracks might be playing in your head, as far as the religious piece. But definitely those were not big time thoughts that were running through my head, but they were through yours, which, I'm sorry I didn't realize that then.
No. I mean, I think I love that's one of the most fun things about this podcast is clarifying things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked to somebody who I went on a date with in the 5th grade and we had very different experiences.
But he remembered you.
Yes.
He remembered his hot date from 5th grade.
Oh, I mean, he had thought about it.
Wow.
Yeah, 100%. It was a formative experience. 100%.
Sounds like I have to listen to that episode.
And his name is Christian. So that was a different life path.
Slightly.
Yes, that is super interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think it was also not that it was a torment for me, just simply I had never and then never since dated someone religious.
Right. So I'm the rabbi that got away is what you're saying.
100. Another poll quote. What are you doing to me? It's so good. Yeah, totally.
Nice.
Yeah. Wait, I just want to see if there's something else that I wanted to.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, this is a little bit of a hard question. Did you have any discomfort around recording this podcast?
Oh, good question. No. Well, you hear the pause in my voice. The short answer is no. The more, I would say, introspective answer is, was there at some point a worry that this would be perceived as somehow unbecoming of the role I play and of the religious life? And part of it again is, like you said before, it's not, I'm about to in my brain, I just made a disparaging, self-deprecating joke about my hairline. But remember the old commercials for Hair Club for Men? I'm president, but I'm also a client kind of a thing.
Yes.
So for me, my imposter syndrome, I live in it in a lot of ways because it's who I am for my own religious identity, but it's also that's what I do professionally. I'm the head of school of a religious institution. So that means that I role model that very same religiosity about which I might have some of my own hangups and imposter syndroming. And then I do that professionally, which means, is this somehow going to bite me in the tuchus professionally? But at the same time, I recognize that A, it won't, and B, it shouldn't worry me at all. So it doesn't. But I do think that I had to do a little bit of that, does it kind of calculation first. So that was the only, I think you phrased it as was it difficult for you to decide to do this? I think that was it. So nothing too hardcore. Just that little tiny bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that I'm coming upon with different people for different reasons why everyone ends up doing it. But there are different reasons people, even though they'll, it'll just be first names, I think people, or anonymous, whatever you want, I think different people have different comfort with being public, even if it's totally anonymous,
right? Just
sharing their words.
Right. Well, again, professionally, I'm not, an actress and a voice actress. But whether it's media or in print or in or voice is an area that I think I have a little bit of Miriam energy in me where it doesn't bother me.
Yes.
I am excited about it.
You're a Gemini.
Yeah, that is, there you go.
And
do you remember that I was a Gemini?
Yeah. Of course.
Nice.
And have you sort of thought back on this in any way that we haven't touched on yet?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think we did touch on it a little bit. I said before, like I definitely thought about, you meeting my family, meeting my mom. When I think about the fact that, I mean, just from a timing perspective, she knew my high school girlfriend, she knew you, and that was it.
Wow.
So, and apparently you knew my high school girlfriend, which I need to offline.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that?
Yeah, no, I have to unpack that one. That's fun. And then there was like the occasional, funny little, quirky, offhand thought of, like, what the hell was wrong with me? I was 19. Why didn't, I just, let the kiss happen, kind of a thing. Like, that was dumb. So like, there are those kinds of moments, and not just, our moments, but like, other types of times when it was like, why did I prevent that? Kind of a thing. And at the same time, it's like, it's good that, I feel like it not even, I mean, maybe from a little bit of a religious thing, but more like it felt in that moment like the slightly nerdy, sweet guy thing to do would be to not let this get any more emotionally fraught, because we're both leaving on an airplane or jet plane, whatever the lyric is. And there's a part of me that is just like, like missed opportunity, that kind of a thing.
There's something about it though that's it's sort of fun that it didn't happen, because that's an experience also. The longing is an experience also. The wanting it so much.
I remember telling a friend about this once. It was like in slow-mo. Like you leaned in and I leaned to the side.
I do remember that we hugged.
And I was just like,
we hugged, and that felt really, really good. And
yes.
Yeah, there's something in the experience of not getting to do that thing. Because it's also like, I mean, it's not like we were going to do everything, but there's always more to do, and there's always more to stop from having happened.
Right.
I think there's something really interesting about not doing, because there's so much in life that like is doing. Yeah.
It's very true. Are there aspects of this that you recall or that you think about that we haven't spoken about yet? Not that I'm the interviewer.
I mean, what came to mind is, and I said this before, but that humor, I think humor and intellect, like as a pair, was a big part of our vibe. And just that there was such a vibe was like very exciting. And so in that sense, it doesn't really matter like what we did or didn't do. That was like a really fun experience. And I think there's something about the innocence of, it might even be why it's like more comfortable for you to talk on this podcast. Like if you had done something that you wish you hadn't, I don't know that you would be talking.
Oh, interesting.
And maybe. Like, I certainly wasn't going to.
Maybe I would have had like more rules about like what we can talk about and what we can't.
Yes. Right now, this is like, we're talking about everything. There was hand holding.
Yeah.
But I think there's something about that innocence. Like I had kissed people at that point, and so there was something.
So had I.
I know.
I was just like,
yes. Yeah. I think that was part of why I was like, dude, you've run out for more. But I think there was some.
It was just
there's
you,
something.
It was just you.
It was just me that you didn't kiss. There was
exactly.
Something very memorable about that.
Yeah.
Like Beckett says in writing, because he wrote in French, even though he was Irish, he talked about writing as like the economy of lessness. And there's something about like a little bit less in that simplicity and that innocence. And I think the reason why I thought about religion is because, like I was pushing the bounds of religion. Like I had gone to Israel and I studied Hebrew, and I was like pretty into being Jewish at that point. And so for me, I wouldn't have studied the Torah on a random Saturday otherwise. So you did sort of bring me into this other world.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I was an entry point.
Yeah.
On some
for sure.
level.
I think you stretched me.
It's interesting.
Let me think if there's anything else.
I remember one other aspect that I remember feeling simultaneously, I think it was part of the intrigue for me, in the sense that, I grew up going to all sorts of, like Jewish youth conventions and always loving it. And it was an opportunity for me to kind of shine in a, extroverted, I'm up on stage kind of a personality. And running alongside of our weekend retreats there was a cohort of participants that were developmentally different, and most were Down syndrome and other, and their counselors. And I remember always having like a little bit of a tug of war with myself of my level of comfort and level of participation with that program that was happening congruently with the rest of it. And the fact that you were so comfortable and more than comfortable, like you're like, in my mind at 19, it was like, this is the career that you were going to have and you were always meant to have and that you had always knew you were going to have. And seeing you so capable and confident at 19, working with a population that was not my comfort zone, but I'd always been around and, I'd always dabbled in, but it was not like where I saw myself going, was both on some level a little scary and also really just like the Yiddish is like a git in a neshama, right? Like your who you were in your soul of giving was so easy to see. That was very attractive and part of the allure for sure.
Wow. Thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah.
And I'm still Facebook friends with all those kids. And they all wish me happy birthday. It's really adorable.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you do any kind of side hustle with, special ed, special needs?
Not with special needs, but I volunteer to hospice, which feels like a similar.
Wow.
Yeah. Feels like a similar part of my being. Yeah.
Wow. And it's through a hospital, the hospice?
No, it's its own hospice. I mean, it's not a site. It's you go into people's homes or nursing homes or things like that.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a special kind of training you have to get for that, or?
You got to train. I mean, I got trained. Yeah. I did a few different trainings, but it wasn't anything super extensive.
Right. I mean, I've been in some of those pastoral moments, and I volunteer, for what's called the Chevra Kadisha, which is after somebody passes, preparing bodies for burial, which is also like a whole on a separate thing, but it's not, meaning it has its own sacredness, but it's not interacting with another alive human soul, through those last stages of life. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And it feels very similar because I think there's a way in which you take it really seriously and then you also make jokes.
Yeah.
So you talk about death and the fear, and then you also make jokes and you go back and forth. And the jokes help with the serious and
little Patch Adams action.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super fun. So yeah, they're very similar.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
Impressive.
And I think that Grossman Camp was actually what gave me the comfort, because Grossman, there was always a special needs bunk within the bunk. I don't want to say regular, the other, what's the right word to use?
Neuronormative.
I guess. Yes. So I just was I'd been at that camp since I was 8 and just hanging out with otherly able.
It's crazy that we were
people.
both there since the time we were 7 or 8 and like met when we were 19.
Yeah.
That just tells you how isolated the Orthodox unit was.
Yeah. I think that's why I wanted to be a CIT there. I was like, what
the hell's going on up there? Right.
Because that was less integrated than special needs.
Oh, for sure.
It was totally separate.
Sure it was, yeah.
Well, because even for like swim lessons, they wanted some privacy. So
come on. I just made this comment to somebody the other day because I have some students that are now counselors at Grossman. It's just like, Grossman. But it was the men and the boys and girls of the unit couldn't have swim together. So the boys would be scheduled for instructional swim back to back with free swim. And then they would go up and then there would be the girl time. But the unit wasn't that big. So we only ever had half of the lakefront. Like, you remember the E-shaped dock?
Yes.
So there would be one half of the dock. The other half of the dock was a mixed gender bunk from the rest of the camp. So it was like, 15-year-old me is only going to swim with boys, but be able to look right over there and enjoy the view. It was like
of girls in bikinis. Yeah. Well, you know,
a little bit of
do your
suspended
best.
cognitive dissonance and disbelief kind of a thing, but
Yeah,
all fair in love and war in Camp Grossman. But you know, it's interesting now that I don't know that I've necessarily. I probably have had this thought, but a cognitive thought out loud is. And I don't know what this is about, so I haven't even unpacked it. But again, my wife and mother to our 5 children, thank God.
5. I'm glad you said 5.
Yeah. Is why did you think I had more kids that she doesn't know about?
No, I know that you have 5, but I wanted the audience to know how many, but I wanted you to say it so I didn't have to make it a spectacle, because it is a lot. And also I'm very impressed.
Well, I'm very tired. So my wife, not only professionally has done that kind of work for a while, a little bit differently. She's an occupational therapist, but when we met and for kind of all of her formative summer experiences, she worked at a Jewish camp specifically and exclusively for special needs children and adults. And for 10 summers. So she went as like a waitress and then as a counselor and then eventually as a therapist to this camp for 10 summers in a row. And it was like, again, this, and the last summer that she did it, we went together as a newlywed couple. And again, it was like, this is so out of my comfort zone and so impressive that it was part of the intrigue. But I never made that connection that it was kind of a similar intrigue source.
What a cool parallel.
Yeah.
I love that.
The parallels of a podcast.
Well, I feel really, really good.
How many episodes are you going to be doing?
I mean, I hate to say it, but there's been some people.
I didn't even realize the
question.
The layering
what
of that
the question means. It's like, so what have you been doing, Miriam? So how have you spent your time?
This is season 3.
This is actually episode 250.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll decide if it'll be a limited series or sort of an ongoing.
Nice.
We'll see.
That's exciting.
And I think one will be kind of like its own little radio program, just like its own episode that everyone will have a little slice in. And then in general, I think the full interviews are super, super interesting. And something interesting emotionally happens in every one. Super surprising.
That's cool.
Someone can start off sort of like icy and then like break down in tears.
Wow.
Like really interesting.
I'm sorry I haven't made you cry yet.
No. I mean, you said a really cool thing about your mama, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's listening to the podcast on whatever podcast apps they have up there.
Yeah, she told me she does. Yeah. I talk to her all the time.
Oh, good.
Is there anything else that you have? We've definitely what's the word? Like squeezed the sponge. But is there anything else that you have thought of or that you want to get across here?
No.
I mean, I'll say, I really respect you. I think you're very smart. I think it's like very beautiful that you have this like wonderful family that you're devoted to and that you're teaching in a religious school. And I really wanted you on because it's an interesting story, but I also really care about you.
I appreciate that. That's incredibly sweet.
Yeah.
And I concur. I love watching your creativity on Facebook. And yes, I'm old, so it's Facebook and not Instagram. But I like there was that kind of connection, that soul to soul spiritual connection of really enjoying you. And that has never gone away, even if it's much, less frequent. And that's on me because I'm just a really bad friend. But there was a reason for kind of, I think, our mutual intrigue and interest. And you said it before, I think it was the combination of wit and speed of intellect that was fun to play with, almost like not like a sparring partner, but like to make full circle with a metaphor, like a dancing partner. And I really do feel like I love the fact that you had a slightly different path than I did. And that it feels like from a distance. And again, everything looks super glossy on Facebook, but it looks like you're living your best life, which is awesome. How cool is it that I know somebody who does full on creative work all the time?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I really appreciate you. And I really appreciate you taking the time, but also like taking the little risk to record this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
And when this breaks and makes us both famous, you let me know and I'm calling for royalties.
Perfect. That's how podcasts work.
That's exactly how
Unfortunately, it's not even how TV works at this point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Let me know how I can binge listen to all of these episodes.
Okay.
There's a little like opportunity for you to plug your whole podcast. But really, this is such a cool opportunity to go down memory lane. But I go back to I meant what I said before. Like my family loved meeting you. My brother remembers it, and we joke around about it. And my mother, for real. We were 19, so she was only around for 3 more years. The summer of 22 is when she was gone. I don't mean 2022. I mean when we were 22. And she loved meeting you.
Well, it's really
not just because you were learning Parsha.
But it's really beautiful because if you're saying that there's some connection between me and your wife, it's a way in which
I didn't really think through. But yeah, for sure. It was there's a personality piece there of living out loud and proud kind of a thing.
And it's a way for you to have seen your mom loving your wife.
Yeah.
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 Super beautiful.
Back at you, kiddo.
Thank you. And I'll definitely send this to you when I have it.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Sweet dreams to you.
Okay.
And have a wonderful, is it nightfall yet by you? Not yet.
It's not nightfall. It is evening.
Sunset.
Yes, it is sunset.
Nice. Well, enjoy your night on the town.
Thank you.
Go have fun. And then that way you can have another episode of your podcast.
OMFG. I'll talk to you later. Bye. I want you all still to answer my questions. I still want to know, how can you be so high? I love his comment at the end about me going out and meeting new people for the podcast. That was Jewish heaven. The stuff about his mom was so gorgeous. And it's really fun to remember early years like that. I'm very excited to have more conversations with early romances. And, here's another white whale guest. First of all, that sommelier from Crow's Nest in Montauk 10 years ago who I kissed on the beach and sounded like, I don't remember your name, but totally get in touch. And also, because this was sort of an innocent podcast, I think it would be interesting to have my first close boy friend from MIT preschool. Obviously, technically, that was not exactly romantic, but I was really excited about his existence in a romantic way. And I promised I'd make this a good episode. So, John Roberts, find me. I think you grew up in Arlington. Yeah, not the Supreme Court justice. But yeah, come on the pod. Okay, thank you so much for listening. Sex appeal is so real. Sex appeal is so real. Sex appeal is so real. You are open, you are closed. You are open, you are closed. Sex appeal is so real.